They say that some moments change your life forever. You know, the ones where time seems to slow down, and you can feel the universe holding its breath, waiting to see what you'll do next. For me, that moment came on a Thursday night in October, when my roommate Marcus stood in my doorway wearing nothing but gray sweatpants and asked me the most unexpected question I'd ever heard. "Hey, Ethan, this is gonna sound weird, but can you help me measure something?" I looked up from my laptop, where I'd been pretending to work on my graphic design portfolio while actually scrolling through social media. Marcus filled the doorframe with his 6'2" athletic build, one hand scratching the back of his neck in that way he did when he was nervous. His dark curls were damp from the shower, and in the lamplight of my room, his brown skin seemed to glow. "Measure what?" I asked, proud that my voice came out steady despite the way my heart had started hammering against my ribs. He shifted his weight, and I watched the movement of muscles under his skin. We'd been roommates for 8 months, long enough for me to memorize every detail of him, though I tried my best not to. Long enough for me to fall completely, hopelessly in love with my straight roommate, because that's what Marcus was. Straight. He'd had a girlfriend until 3 weeks ago, and before that, another girlfriend, and before that. Well, you get the picture. He laughed, but it sounded strained. "Okay, this is going to sound insane, but I need to measure my dick." The words hung in the air between us. "I'm pretty sure I stopped breathing." "You're what?" I managed to say, though my brain had basically short-circuited. I know. He stepped into my room, closing the door behind him. The space suddenly felt much smaller. "It's for this thing online. There's this girl I've been talking to, and she asked, and I realized I have no idea what the actual measurement is. And all my friends would just make fun of me. But you're always honest with me, man. You're like the only person I trust to be straight with me about this." The irony of that particular word choice wasn't lost on me. "And you don't have a ruler?" I asked, desperately trying to keep this conversation in the realm of normal, even though everything about it felt like I'd stepped into an alternate dimension. "I do. But," he ran his hand through his hair again, "I can't get an accurate measurement by myself. The angle's all wrong. I need someone to, hold the ruler." This couldn't be happening. This was the kind of thing that happened in the gay romance novels I secretly read on my Kindle at 2 in the morning. Not in real life. Not to guys like me, quiet, introverted graphic designers who spent more time with their cat than with other humans. "Marcus, I don't think." "Please, Ethan." He looked at me with those deep brown eyes, and I felt my resolve crumbling. "I know it's weird. Trust me, I know. But you're my best friend. I literally can't think of anyone else I'd feel comfortable asking. Best friend." The words should have warmed me, but instead, they felt like a knife between my ribs. Because that's all I'd ever be to him. The best friend. The safe gay roommate who he could ask weird favors from because there was no possibility of anything romantic happening between us, except there was a possibility, at least on my side. I'd been harboring feelings for Marcus since the day he moved in, carrying boxes up 3 flights of stairs without breaking a sweat, flashing me that brilliant smile when I offered to help. I'd fallen for him somewhere between our late-night conversations about life and dreams, and the way he always remembered to buy my favorite coffee creamer when he went grocery shopping. "Okay," I heard myself say. "I'll help you." The smile that broke across his face was like sunrise. "Seriously, man, you're a lifesaver." He crossed to my desk, where I kept a ruler for design work, and picked it up. Then he turned to face me, and suddenly the reality of what I'd agreed to hit me like a truck. My mouth went dry. "So, how do we do this?" I asked. "I figure I'll just, he gestured vaguely downward. "Get ready, and then you can measure from base to tip." Apparently, that's the standard way, right? Standard. Sure, I was babbling. I needed to get a grip. Marcus took a deep breath, and then, oh God, his hands went to the waistband of his sweatpants. I'm just gonna. Is it cool if I? Yeah, of course, I said, trying to sound casual, like this was totally normal. Like I measured my straight roommate's dick every Thursday night. What happened next seemed to unfold in slow motion. He pushed down his sweatpants, and he wasn't wearing anything underneath. The sight of him, all of him, made my brain go completely blank. He was impressive, very impressive. And I was supposed to somehow maintain my composure and measure this like it was a completely clinical, platonic activity between friends. Give me a minute, Marcus said quietly. I need to, get it to full size. I nodded, unable to form words, watching as he touched himself. This was torture. Beautiful, exquisite torture. I should look away. I should definitely look away. But I couldn't. My eyes were locked on the sight of him, the way his breathing changed, the way his abs tensed. Okay, he said after what felt like both an eternity and no time at all. I think I'm ready. I stood on shaky legs and approached him, ruler in hand. Up close, I could smell his body wash, something woodsy and clean, mixed with the heat of his skin. My hands trembled slightly as I positioned the ruler, press it against the base. He instructed, his voice lower than usual. For accuracy, I did as he said, acutely aware that my hand was inches from his body, that we were closer than we'd ever been before. I could hear his breathing, feel the warmth radiating from him. The ruler shook in my grip. 8.5 inches, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Really? He sounded pleased. That's good, right? Yeah, Marcus. That's definitely good. We stood there for a moment, neither of us moving. The air between us felt electric, charged with something I couldn't quite name. Or maybe I could name it, but I was too afraid to say it out loud. Thanks, man, he said finally, pulling up his sweatpants. I really appreciate this. I know it was weird. It's fine, I lied, backing away toward my bed. No problem. But as he left my room, closing the door behind him, I collapsed onto my mattress and pressed my face into my pillow. My heart was racing, my skin felt hot, and I absolutely knew, that I'd just made everything between us infinitely more complicated, because now I couldn't stop thinking about it. About him. About the way he'd looked at me while I held that ruler. About the trust in his eyes when he asked for my help. About the impossible situation I'd found myself in. I was in love with Marcus. I had been for months. And tonight had only made it 1,000 times worse. I woke up the next morning with a pounding headache and a sense of impending doom. The memory of last night played on repeat in my mind, and I seriously considered never leaving my room again. Maybe I could just live here forever, sustaining myself on the granola bars I kept in my desk drawer. A knock on my door shattered that fantasy. Ethan, you awake? Marcus's voice filtered through the wood. I made coffee. Of course he made coffee. Because he was perfect and thoughtful and completely oblivious to the emotional crisis he'd triggered in me. Yeah, I called back. Be out in a minute. I dragged myself out of bed and pulled on jeans and a hoodie, catching my reflection in the mirror. My blonde hair stuck up at odd angles, and the dark circles under my blue eyes suggested I hadn't slept well, which was accurate. I'd spent most of the night staring at the ceiling, trying to process what had happened. When I emerged from my room, Marcus was in the kitchen, pouring coffee into my favorite mug, the one with the cartoon cat that said I do what I want. He'd already added cream, exactly the way I liked it. Morning, he said, handing it to me with a smile that made my stomach flip. He was wearing his work uniform, dark jeans and a navy polo shirt with the logo of the outdoor recreation store where he worked. Sleep okay? Yeah, fine, I lied, taking a sip of coffee to avoid eye contact. Listen, about last night, he leaned against the counter, and I braced myself. I wanted to say thanks again. I know that was probably the weirdest favor anyone's ever asked you. It's fine. Marcus, really? I stared intently at my coffee mug. I told Maya. That's the girl I've been talking to, and she was impressed. He laughed. Apparently, 8.5 inches is above average. Who knew? The knife between my ribs twisted a little deeper. Of course there was a girl. Of course he'd used my help to impress someone else. What had I expected? That's great, I said, forcing enthusiasm into my voice. I'm happy for you. Marcus tilted his head, studying me with an expression I couldn't quite read. You sure you're okay? You seem off, just tired. Didn't sleep much. That part was true, at least. Well, don't work too hard on your portfolio today. He drained his coffee and set the mug in the sink. Hey, you want to hang out tonight? Watch a movie or something? We haven't had a good roommate night in a while. Every fiber of my being screamed that I should say no, that I needed space and distance to get my emotions under control. But instead, I heard myself say, yeah, sounds good, awesome. He grabbed his keys from the hook by the door. I'll pick up pizza on my way home. You good with pepperoni? Always. After he left, I sat at the kitchen table with my rapidly cooling coffee and wondered what the hell I was doing. This was self-destructive behavior at its finest. I needed to get over Marcus, not spend more time with him. But the truth was, I couldn't imagine not having him in my life. Even if it hurt. Even if I was slowly breaking my own heart. My phone buzzed with a text from my best friend, Jamie. Jamie, coffee today. I need to hear all about your date with that guy from the bookstore. I groaned. I'd completely forgotten about that date. Probably because it had been completely unmemorable compared to measuring my roommate's dick. God, my life was a mess. Eat coffee sounds perfect. Need advice on everything, Jamie. This sounds serious. Usual place in an hour. Me, see you there. The coffee shop was busy for a Friday morning, filled with students hunched over laptops and professionals having earnest meetings. Jamie was already seated at our usual corner table, their short purple hair a beacon in the crowd. They waved when they spotted me, their collection of rings glinting in the light streaming through the windows. You look like hell, they said cheerfully as I sat down. Rough night. You have no idea. I slumped in my chair. I did something monumentally stupid. Jamie's eyes lit up with interest. They love drama, as long as it wasn't happening to them. Spill. So I did. I told them everything. About Marcus's late-night request, about what happened, about the girl he was trying to impress, about how I was completely, hopelessly in love with someone who would never feel the same way. When I finished, Jamie sat back in their chair and let out a long whistle. Okay, first of all, what the actual fuck? I know. Second of all, are you sure he's straight? I blinked. What? Ethan, babe, honey. Jamie leaned forward. Straight guys don't ask their gay roommates to measure their dicks. He said he trusts me. I trust my accountant, but I'm not asking her to handle my junk. Jamie took a sip of their latte. Think about it. He could have done this himself. He could have looked it up online. Hell, he could have just lied to this Maya person. But instead, he came to you, and he got naked in front of you, and he stood there while you know, what are you saying? I'm saying maybe Marcus isn't as straight as you think he is. Jamie's expression softened. Or maybe he's figuring some things out. The possibility sent a jolt through my chest, hope and fear tangled together. He has a girlfriend. Well, he's talking to a girl. Bisexuality exists, you know. Also, compulsory heterosexuality is a hell of a drug. Jamie reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Look, I'm not saying he's definitely into you, but I am saying that the situation is weird enough that you might want to consider other explanations beyond my straight roommate needed a favor. I can't afford to hope like that, I said quietly. It'll destroy me if I'm wrong. But what if you're right? Jamie's eyes were serious now. What if there's a chance, and you never take it because you're too scared? I didn't have an answer for that. That evening, I sat on our worn couch trying to focus on the action movie playing on TV, but my mind kept drifting to Jamie's words. What if you're right? The question haunted me. Whispered possibilities I'd never allowed myself to consider. Marcus sat next to me, close enough that our shoulders occasionally touched. He'd changed into soft joggers and an old college t-shirt, looking comfortable and relaxed in a way that made my chest ache. We demolished an entire pizza, and now half-empty beer bottles sat on the coffee table in front of us. "This movie is terrible," Marcus said, gesturing at the screen where an improbable car chase was unfolding. "Why are we watching this again?" "You picked it," I reminded him. "Right, poor judgment." He grabbed the remote and paused the movie. "Want to just talk instead?" My heart rate spiked. "Sure, what about?" He shifted on the couch, angling his body toward me. In the dim light from the TV and the single lamp in the corner, his features were softened, almost ethereal. "I wanted to ask you something about last night." Here it was. He was going to tell me how uncomfortable he'd felt, how he needed me to forget it ever happened, how we should probably maintain better boundaries. "Okay," I said carefully. Did it bother you, what I asked you to do?" His eyes searched my face. Be honest, the question caught me off guard. I'd expected discomfort from him, not concern about my feelings. Why do you ask? You've been weird all day. Quiet. Won't really look at me." He ran his hand through his curls. "And I keep thinking that maybe I crossed a line. Maybe I made you uncomfortable, and I was too caught up in my own embarrassment to realize it." Relief flooded through me, followed quickly by guilt. Of course he'd noticed my distance. Marcus was observant, attentive in ways that had always surprised me. It was one of the things I loved about him. "You didn't make me uncomfortable," I said, which was technically true. Overwhelmed, confused, hopelessly turned on. "Yes. Uncomfortable? Not exactly." "Then what's going on?" He leaned closer. "Talk to me, Ethan. We're friends. Best friends. You can tell me anything." The words were right there, pushing against my teeth, begging to be released. "I'm in love with you. I've been in love with you since the day you moved in. Last night nearly killed me because I wanted it to mean something it didn't. Instead, I said, I guess I was just worried it might make things weird between us." "Why would it make things weird?" "Because," I struggled to find words that were true, but not too true. "Because it was intimate, Marcus, even if it wasn't meant to be. And I didn't want you to feel like I was looking at you differently." Understanding dawned in his eyes. "Because you're gay." "Yeah," I said quietly. "Because I'm gay." Marcus was silent for a long moment, his gaze still locked on mine. Then he said something that made my breath catch. "What if I wanted you to look at me differently?" Time seemed to stop. The room, the TV, the world outside our apartment, all of it faded away until there was nothing but Marcus and me and the question hanging between us. "What?" I whispered. "That girl. Maya." He looked down at his hands. "I made her up." My brain refused to process this information. "You." "What?" "There is no Maya. There's no girl I'm talking to." He took a shaky breath. I needed an excuse. Because I couldn't just say what I really wanted to say, which was. He finally met my eyes again, and what I saw there made my heart nearly stop. Vulnerability, nervousness, and something else. Something that looked almost like hope. "That I can't stop thinking about you," Marcus said. "That I haven't been able to stop thinking about you for months. That I broke up with Sarah because every time I was with her, I wished I was with you instead." His words came faster now, like a dam breaking. "That I'm terrified and confused and I've never felt this way about a guy before. But I feel it about you, and I don't know what to do with it." I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only stare at him as everything I thought I knew shattered and reformed into something entirely new. "Last night," he continued, "I knew what I was asking was insane, but I needed an excuse to see if there was any chance you might." He laughed, but it sounded pained. "God, I sound like an idiot, Marcus." My voice came out rough. "Are you saying?" "I'm saying I'm into you, Ethan." The words rushed out. "I'm saying that somewhere along the way, My best friend became the person I thought about first thing in the morning and last thing at night. I'm saying that every time you smile at me, my whole day gets better. I'm saying that I'm pretty sure I'm falling in love with you, and it scares the shit out of me. But I can't keep pretending I don't feel it anymore. The world tilted on its axis. This couldn't be real. This was a dream, or a hallucination, or some kind of elaborate prank. Say something, Marcus pleaded. Please, even if it's to tell me you don't feel the same way. Just say something. I struggled to form words. I've been in love with you for 8 months. His eyes widened. 8 months? Since the day you moved in, the confession poured out of me. I've been in love with you since you carried that impossible number of boxes up the stairs and still had the energy to help me assemble your bed frame. I've been in love with you through every girlfriend, every late-night conversation, every casual touch that felt like electricity. I thought I was going crazy. I thought I'd made it all up in my head because I wanted it so badly. You didn't make it up, Marcus said softly. It was real. It's real. We stared at each other, both of us breathing hard, the air between us crackling with possibility. 8 months of longing, of denial, of carefully maintained boundaries, all of it suddenly irrelevant. Can I? Marcus's voice was barely above a whisper. Can I kiss you? I couldn't speak, so I just nodded. He leaned in slowly, giving me every opportunity to pull away. But I didn't pull away. I met him halfway, and when our lips finally touched, it felt like coming home. The kiss was gentle at first, tentative, both of us learning this new language. But then Marcus's hand came up to cup my face, and I melted into him. And the kiss deepened into something that stole my breath and my thoughts and every bit of resistance I'd ever tried to maintain. When we finally broke apart, both of us were trembling. Marcus rested his forehead against mine, his eyes closed. I've wanted to do that for so long, he murmured. Why didn't you? I didn't think you'd want me to. He opened his eyes. You're so confident in who you are. You've been out since high school. And me. I'm still figuring this out. I was afraid you'd think I was just experimenting, or that I wasn't serious. Are you? The question slipped out before I could stop it. Serious? Ethan, he took both my hands in his. I've dated a lot of girls. I've had relationships that lasted months, but none of them ever made me feel the way you do. When I'm with you, everything makes sense. When I'm not with you, all I can think about is getting back to you. His thumbs traced circles on the backs of my hands. So yeah, I'm serious. Completely, terrifyingly serious. I'm scared, I admit it. What if this doesn't work? What if we mess up our friendship? What if it does work? He countered. What if this is the best decision either of us ever makes? I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him so badly. I need you to understand something, I said carefully. I'm not going to be your experiment. I'm not going to be the guy you try things with while you figure yourself out. If we do this, I need to know you're all in. I'm all in. There was no hesitation in his voice. I'm all in, Ethan, I promise. And maybe it was foolish. Maybe I should have been more cautious, more guarded. But when I looked into Marcus's eyes, I saw the same vulnerability. I felt the same hope, the same terrifying, beautiful possibility. Okay, I whispered. Let's do this. His smile was radiant. Yeah, he kissed me again, and this time there was no hesitation, no careful exploration. This time it was all heat and hunger and 8 months of wanting finally unleashed. His hands tangled in my hair, and I gripped his shirt, pulling him closer, needing to feel every inch of him against me. Bedroom. He murmured against my lips. Marcus, we should probably talk more. We can talk, he promised, trailing kisses along my jaw. We have all the time in the world to talk. But right now, I really need to take you to bed. The words sent heat coursing through my veins. Okay, I breathed. Okay, yes. We stumbled to his room, closer than mine, kissing the entire way, hands exploring, relearning each other with this new permission. When we reached his bed, he pulled back just long enough to look at me. You're sure? he asked. I've never been more sure of anything. I woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the weight of an arm draped across my waist. For a moment, I was disoriented, unsure where I was. Then memory flooded back, and I turned my head to find Marcus sleeping beside me, his face peaceful and younger in the morning light. We'd spent hours exploring each other, learning what made the other gasp and moan, talking between kisses about everything and nothing. It had been tender and passionate and overwhelming in the best possible way. And now, in the clear light of morning, I was waiting for the panic to set in, the regret, the awkwardness, but it didn't come. Instead, I felt peaceful, happy, complete in a way I'd never felt before. Marcus stirred beside me, his eyes fluttering open. When he saw me watching him, a sleepy smile spread across his face. Hey yourself, how are you feeling? His voice was rough with sleep, and it did things to me. Good, I said. Really good. You? Like I could stay in this bed forever. He pulled me closer, tucking my head under his chin. Last night was. God, Ethan, I didn't know it could be like that. Like what? Like everything just clicks into place. He pressed a kiss to the top of my head. Is it always like that? I thought about my past relationships, the fumbling hookups, the boyfriends who never quite understood me, the loneliness even when I wasn't alone. No, I admitted, it's not always like that. Good, he said, because I want this to be special. I want you to know that this isn't just. I'm not just figuring myself out. You're not an experiment or a phase. You're, what? I prompted when he trailed off. You're everything, he said simply. You're everything I didn't know I needed. My chest tightened with emotion. Marcus, I love you, he said, the words tumbling out. I know it's too soon, and I know I'm probably supposed to wait and play it cool, but I don't care. I love you, Ethan. I think I've loved you for months. I just didn't have the words for it. Tears pricked at my eyes. I love you too, I whispered. So much. He kissed me, slow and deep, and I melted into him. We stayed like that for a while, trading kisses and touches, until my stomach growled loudly enough to make us both laugh. I should feed you, Marcus said. What do you want for breakfast? Pancakes, I suggested hopefully. Pancakes it is. He started to get up, then paused. Ethan, this is real, right? This is really happening. It's real, I assured him. We're really happening. The smile he gave me was incandescent. Good, because I'm never letting you go. The first few weeks of our relationship were like living in a dream. Marcus was affectionate and attentive, constantly finding excuses to touch me. A hand on my lower back as he moved past me in the kitchen, fingers tangling with mine while we watched TV, sweet kisses stolen in quiet moments. We fell into an easy domestic rhythm that felt both new and familiar. But it wasn't all perfect. My parents are coming to visit next month, Marcus said one evening while we were cooking dinner together. He'd been unusually quiet all day, and now I understood why. I paused in chopping vegetables. Okay, that's good, right? Yeah, he didn't sound convincing. It's just, I haven't told them about us yet. The words stung more than I wanted to admit. Oh, it's not that I'm ashamed, he said quickly, setting down the spoon he'd been using to stir pasta sauce. I'm not. I swear I'm not. It's just, my family is pretty traditional. They have expectations, and I need to figure out how to tell them in a way they'll understand. Marcus, it's been 3 weeks. If you're not ready to tell them, that's okay. I tried to keep my voice neutral, but some hurt must have leaked through. Ethan, look at me. He turned me to face him. I want to tell them. I want the whole world to know about us. But my family, they're complicated. My dad especially. He's got these ideas about what a man should be. And he trailed off, frustration evident in his expression. You don't have to explain, I said softly. I get it. Coming out is personal, and you get to do it on your own timeline. But I don't want you to think I'm hiding you. His hands cupped my face. You're not a secret. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. Then we'll figure it out together, I promised. When you're ready, he kissed me, grateful and relieved, and I tried to ignore the small voice in my head whispering doubts. This was part of being with someone who was newly out. I knew that. I'd been through this before, back in high school when I dated a guy who wasn't ready to be public about our relationship. That hadn't ended well, but Marcus wasn't him. Marcus was different. I had to trust that. You have to come, Jamie insisted over coffee the following Saturday. It's Pride Month. It's a party specifically for queer folks, and you've been holed up with your boyfriend for weeks. The community demands your presence. I don't know, I hedged. Marcus might not be comfortable, so bring him. Let him see what it's like to be part of something bigger. Jamie's expression softened. Ethan, I know you're trying to be understanding about his journey, but you're allowed to want to exist in queer spaces with your boyfriend. You're allowed to want to be out and proud. They were right, of course. I'd been so focused on making sure Marcus was comfortable that I'd neglected my own needs. It had been months since I'd been to any LGBTQ+ events, since I'd connected with my community beyond Jamie. You think he'd come? I asked. Only one way to find out. That evening, I broached the subject while we were tangled together on the couch. There's this party next Friday. Jamie's hosting it for Pride Month. Would you want to go with me? Marcus tensed slightly in my arms. A party? Yeah. It's just for LGBTQ+ folks and allies. Nothing too crazy. Music, drinks, people hanging out. I tried to sound casual. I'd really like you to meet my friends properly, and I think you'd enjoy seeing what the community is like. I don't know, Ethan. That's pretty public, isn't it? It's at Jamie's house. Maybe 20 people, most of whom I know. I sat up to look at him. But if you're not ready, that's okay. He was quiet for a long moment, and I could see the war happening behind his eyes. Finally, he said, No, you're right. I want to meet your friends. I want to be part of your world. He squeezed my hand. Let's go to the party. The night of the party, Marcus changed his outfit 3 times before settling on jeans and a fitted black t-shirt that made him look absolutely devastating. I could tell he was nervous from the way he kept running his hands through his hair. You look great, I assured him for the 10th time as we climbed the stairs to Jamie's apartment. What if they don't like me? They're going to love you. I kissed his cheek. Just be yourself. Jamie's apartment was already packed when we arrived. Music pulsing through the rooms, rainbow flags and pride decorations covering every surface. Jamie spotted us immediately and rushed over, pulling me into a hug. You made it. And you must be Marcus. They turned their appraising gaze on my boyfriend. I've heard a lot about you. All good things, I hope, Marcus said, flashing that charming smile. Mostly good, Jamie winked. Come on, let me introduce you to everyone. The next hour was a whirlwind of introductions. My friends were welcoming and warm, asking Marcus questions about his work and his interests, sharing stories and jokes. I watched him slowly relax, his shoulders loosening, genuine laughter replacing nervous chuckles. Your friends are great, he murmured in my ear during a quiet moment. Thank you for bringing me. Thank you for coming. I laced my fingers through his. It means a lot to me. We were standing in the kitchen, getting drinks, when I heard a familiar voice behind me. Ethan, is that you? I turned to find Daniel, my ex from college, standing there with a surprised smile. We dated briefly 3 years ago before realizing we were better as friends. I hadn't known he'd be here. Daniel. Hey, I hugged him. How are you? Good, good. Still working at the nonprofit downtown. His eyes flicked to Marcus, then to our joined hands. And you? I heard through the grapevine you were seeing someone. Yeah, this is Marcus, my boyfriend. I pulled Marcus closer. Marcus, this is Daniel. We dated back in college. I felt Marcus stiffen beside me. His hand slipped from mine. Nice to meet you, Marcus said, his voice notably cooler. You too. Daniel seemed oblivious to the tension. Ethan, we should catch up properly sometime. Coffee next week? Sure, I said, still focused on Marcus's sudden shift in demeanor. That sounds great. After Daniel walked away, Marcus was quiet. Too quiet. You okay? I asked. Fine. But his jaw was tight, his posture rigid. Marcus, I need some air. He pulled away from me and headed toward Jamie's small balcony. I followed him outside, where the night air was cooler, the sounds of the party muted behind the sliding glass door. Marcus stood at the railing, his back to me. What's going on? I asked gently. That guy. Daniel. Marcus's voice was strained. You dated him 3 years ago, for like 2 months. We're just friends now. He's attractive, confident, completely comfortable with who he is. Marcus turned to face me, and I was startled to see pain in his eyes. He's everything I'm not. That's not true, isn't it? He laughed bitterly. Look at me, Ethan. I'm standing here at a pride party, and I'm terrified someone might see me. I couldn't even hold your hand in there after he showed up. What kind of boyfriend does that make me? Marcus, you're still figuring things out. That's okay, but is it okay? He ran his hands through his hair in frustration. Is it okay that I'm holding you back? That I can't give you what you deserve? You should be with someone like Daniel. Someone who can be proud to be with you in public. Someone who doesn't need time to figure things out. My heart cracked at the self-loathing in his voice. Stop. Just stop. I moved closer to him. You think I want to be with Daniel? I dated him, Marcus. I know exactly what that relationship is, and it's friendship, nothing more. But he could give you things I can't. He could never make me feel the way you do. I took Marcus's face in my hands, forcing him to look at me. I don't want someone who has it all figured out. I want you, the real you, the one who's scared and uncertain and brave enough to try anyway. I hate feeling like this, he whispered. I hate feeling jealous and insecure. Welcome to relationships, I said with a small smile. It's not always comfortable, but it's real, and it's ours. He pulled me into a tight embrace, burying his face in my neck. I'm sorry. I'm being ridiculous. You're being human. I stroked his back soothingly. But Marcus, we need to talk about this. About being public. Because I won't hide our relationship, and I won't ask you to stay in the closet. But I also need to know where you stand. He pulled back to look at me. You're right. You're absolutely right. He took a deep breath. I've been a coward. I've been so worried about what other people think that I forgot what actually matters. You matter. We matter. What are you saying? I'm saying screw it. There was determination in his eyes now. I'm saying let's go back in there, and I'll hold your hand in front of everyone. I'm saying I'm going to tell my parents when they visit. I'm saying I'm done hiding the best thing in my life. You don't have to do this all at once. Yes, I do. He cupped my face. Because you deserve someone who's proud to be with you. And I am proud, Ethan. I'm so damn proud. I just needed to get out of my own way. He kissed me then, deep and passionate, right there on Jamie's balcony where anyone could see. When we broke apart, I was breathless. Okay then. I managed to say, okay then. He echoed with a grin. Now let's go back to this party and show everyone that you're completely, hopelessly taken. We walked back inside hand in hand, and this time Marcus didn't let go. He kept me close all night, his arm around my waist, pressing kisses to my temple, introducing himself to my friends as my boyfriend with obvious pride. And when Daniel approached us again later, Marcus was warm and friendly, secure enough in us to not feel threatened. I like him, Jamie said later, cornering me in the kitchen. He's good for you. Yeah, I agreed, watching Marcus laugh at something one of my friends said across the room. He really is. 2 weeks later, I stood in our apartment trying not to panic while Marcus paced back and forth. They're going to be here in an hour, he said for the 3rd time. An hour? We've cleaned. We've cooked. Everything's ready. I caught his hand, stopping his frantic movement. It's going to be okay. You don't know my dad. Marcus's voice was tight with anxiety. He has opinions, strong opinions about how men should be. Then we'll deal with his opinions together. I squeezed his hand. I'm not going anywhere, Marcus. No matter what. When the knock came, Marcus took a deep breath and opened the door. His parents stood in the hallway, his mother petite and elegant with the same warm brown eyes as Marcus, his father tall and broad-shouldered with graying hair and a stern expression. Mom, Dad, Marcus hugged them both. Come in. There's someone I want you to meet. I stepped forward, trying to project confidence I didn't entirely feel. Mr. and Mrs. Williams, I'm Ethan. It's wonderful to meet you. Ethan is my roommate, Marcus started, then stopped himself. No, that's not right. He reached for my hand, and I felt his palm sweating against mine. Ethan is my boyfriend. The silence that followed was deafening. Mrs. Williams's eyes widened. Mr. Williams's expression hardened. You're what? Mr. Williams's voice was low and dangerous. My boyfriend, Marcus repeated, his voice stronger now. Dad, I know this isn't what you expected, but I need you to hear me. I'm bisexual, and I'm in love with Ethan. Marcus, this is ridiculous. His father's jaw clenched. You're not. You can't be. I am. Marcus's hand tightened around mine. I've dated women, yes, but that doesn't change the fact that I've fallen in love with a man. With this man specifically. Mrs. Williams spoke for the first time, her voice soft. How long? About 2 months officially, Marcus said. But I've had feelings for him much longer. This is a phase, Mr. Williams declared. You're confused. This generation, always trying to be special, to stand out. Dad, I'm not confused. Marcus's voice was firm. I've never been more certain of anything in my life, and I need you to respect that. Both of you, respect it? His father's voice rose. You want me to respect this choice? It's not a choice. I spoke up for the first time, my voice calm despite my racing heart. Love isn't a choice, Mr. Williams. It's something that happens to you, whether you're ready for it or not. I didn't ask for your input, he snapped at me. Then ask for mine, Marcus said, stepping slightly in front of me. Because Ethan is right. I didn't choose to fall in love with him. It just happened, and it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. Mrs. Williams touched her husband's arm. Robert, please, what? Caroline, our son is throwing his life away. I'm not throwing anything away. Marcus's voice cracked with emotion. I'm finally being honest about who I am, about what I want. And what I want is Ethan. What I want is a life where I don't have to pretend or hide or be someone I'm not just to make you comfortable. Tears were streaming down his face now, and my heart broke for him. I wanted to comfort him, to hold him, but I sensed he needed to do this himself. If you can't accept that, Marcus continued, his voice breaking, if you can't accept me as I really am, then I don't know what else to say. Because I'm not going back in the closet. I'm not giving up the person I love. Not for anyone. Not even for you. The apartment fell silent except for Marcus's ragged breathing. His father stared at him, a muscle working in his jaw. His mother had tears in her eyes. Finally, Mrs. Williams spoke. Marcus, her voice was gentle. Come here, baby. Marcus hesitated, then moved toward his mother. She pulled him into a tight hug, and I saw his shoulders shake as he cried. I don't understand this, she said softly. I won't pretend I do, but you're my son. You're my baby boy, and I love you. No matter what. She pulled back to look at him. Give me time to process this, to understand, but I'm not losing you over it. Mom, Marcus's voice was choked. She turned to me, her expression appraising. You, Ethan, do you love my son? Yes, ma'am, I said without hesitation. More than anything, and you'll take care of him. With everything I have. She studied me for a long moment, then nodded. Then I suppose we'll figure this out. All eyes turned to Mr. Williams, who stood rigid near the door. The silence stretched unbearably. I need time, he finally said, his voice gruff. I can't do this right now, Robert. Mrs. Williams started. I said I need time. He looked at Marcus, and for a moment, I saw pain flash across his face before he shuddered it. I'm staying at a hotel tonight. Caroline, you can stay or come with me. I'll stay, she said firmly. I'm not leaving my son, mister. Williams nodded once, then left, the door closing with a decisive click behind him. Marcus stood frozen, staring at the door. His mother approached him again, taking his face in her hands. Your father loves you, she said. He's just stubborn, set in his ways. Give him time. What if time doesn't change anything? Marcus asked. Then we deal with that when we come to it. She kissed his forehead. Now, didn't you mention something about dinner? I'm starving, and I want to get to know this young man who's captured my son's heart. The dinner was awkward at first, but gradually, the tension eased. Mrs. Williams asked me about my work, my family, how Marcus and I met. She told embarrassing stories about Marcus as a child that made him groan and me laugh. And slowly, I saw her warming up, saw her beginning to accept the reality of who her son was. After she left for her hotel, she'd insisted on getting her own room. Marcus and I collapsed on the couch, emotionally exhausted, that was. Marcus trailed off, intense. I finished. But your mom seems like she's trying. Yeah, he leaned his head on my shoulder. My dad, though, one step at a time. I wrapped my arm around him. You were so brave tonight, Marcus. I'm proud of you. I almost backed out about 5 times before they arrived, but you didn't. You stood up for us, for yourself. I kissed the top of his head. That takes courage. I couldn't have done it without you. He looked up at me, knowing you were there, knowing you had my back. That's what gave me strength. I'll always have your back, I promised. Whatever comes next, what came next, over the following weeks, was a slow thaw. Mrs. Williams called Marcus regularly, asking questions, trying to understand. She invited us both to family dinner. She sent me a friend request on Facebook. Small steps, but steps nonetheless. Mr. Williams was harder. He didn't call, didn't respond to Marcus's messages. The silence stretched between them like a wound that wouldn't heal. Give him time, I kept saying, even as I watched the pain in Marcus's eyes every time his father didn't return his calls. Then, 6 weeks after that difficult dinner, Marcus's phone rang. We were watching TV, his head in my lap while I ran my fingers through his hair. He glanced at the screen and froze. It's my dad, he whispered. Answer it. I encouraged. He sat up, took a deep breath, and answered. Dad. I couldn't hear the other side of the conversation, but I watched Marcus's face cycle through surprise, disbelief, and finally, cautious hope. Yeah, Marcus said. Yeah, we can do that. Sunday? Okay. Both of us? You're sure? A pause. Okay, Dad. We'll be there. He hung up and stared at his phone. What did he say? I asked. He wants us to come to Sunday dinner, at my parents' house. Both of us. Marcus looked at me with wide eyes. He said he's been doing some reading, talking to people, and he wants to try. Marcus, that's amazing. He didn't apologize. Didn't say he suddenly understands everything. But he's trying. Tears welled in Marcus's eyes. He's actually trying. I pulled him into a hug, feeling his body shake with relief and emotion. See, I told you. One step at a time. That Sunday, we drove to Marcus's childhood home in the suburbs. It was a modest house with a well-kept lawn and flowers blooming in the garden. Marcus's hands were white-knuckled on the steering wheel. Breathe. I reminded him. Right. Breathing. I can do that. His mother answered the door with a warm smile, hugging us both. Come in. Come in. Dinner's almost ready. His father was in the living room, standing by the window. He turned when we entered, and I saw the same nervousness in his posture that I felt in Marcus's body beside me. Son, he said. Ethan, Dad, Marcus replied. The silence was heavy until Mrs. Williams bustled in. Robert, why don't you show them that book you were reading, the one by the flag parent? Mr. Williams cleared his throat. Right. Yes. He picked up a well-worn book from the coffee table. I've been educating myself about the LGBTQ community. About bisexuality specifically. He looked uncomfortable but determined. I realized I didn't know anything, and I was judging something I didn't understand. Dad, you don't have to. Marcus started. Yes, I do. His father's voice was firm. I do have to. Because I was wrong, Marcus. I was wrong to react the way I did. I was wrong to make you feel like you had to choose between your family and your happiness. He paused, emotion flickering across his face. I was wrong to make you cry. Marcus's breath caught. I can't say I understand everything, Mr. Williams continued. I can't say this is easy for me. I had certain expectations, certain ideas about how your life would go, and I need to let go of those expectations. He finally looked directly at Marcus. But you're my son, you're my boy, and I love you. That doesn't change, Dad. Marcus's voice was thick with tears. I'd like to get to know Ethan, his father said, turning to me. If that's all right, I'd like to understand what you mean to my son. I'd like that too, sir, I said. Dinner was still awkward in places. Mr. Williams struggled with certain topics, and I could see him wrestling with his ingrained beliefs. But he asked questions. He listened to the answers. He tried. At one point, when Marcus and his mother were in the kitchen getting dessert, Mr. Williams leaned toward me. Do you make him happy? He asked. I try my best, I said honestly. He makes me happier than I've ever been. He nodded slowly. That's what a parent wants, you know, for their child to be happy, even when it looks different than what they imagined. Thank you, I said, for trying. It means everything to Marcus. He's a good kid. Man, he corrected himself. He's a good man. Always has been. I just needed to remember that. The crowd stretched out before us. Thousands of people in rainbow colors filling the streets of downtown for the city's annual Pride Parade. Marcus had his arm around my waist, and we wore matching t-shirts that said "Buy and Proud" and "Love is Love." This is incredible, Marcus breathed, taking in the celebration around us. Your first Pride Parade, I said with a grin. What do you think? I think I should have done this years ago. He pulled me closer, but I'm glad I'm doing it now. With you. Jamie appeared in the crowd, waving their rainbow flag. There you guys are. Come on, the march is starting. We joined the procession, walking hand in hand through streets lined with cheering supporters. Marcus's parents were somewhere in the crowd, his mother enthusiastically waving a flag, his father slightly uncomfortable but present. They'd come so far in the past year. So had Marcus. He'd found a support group for bisexual men, made friends in the LGBTQ community, grown comfortable in his identity. He'd cut his hours at the recreation store to go back to school for a degree in environmental science, something he'd always wanted but never pursued. He was happier, more confident, more himself than I'd ever seen him. As for me, I'd launched my freelance graphic design business, with Marcus as my biggest cheerleader. We'd moved to a bigger apartment, one bedroom this time, because we didn't need the pretense of separate rooms anymore. We'd built a life together, a real, honest, beautiful life. I love you, Marcus said as we walked, the words nearly lost in the noise of celebration around us. I love you too, I said back. Remember that night I asked you to help me measure? I laughed. How could I forget? I was so scared, he admitted, terrified that you'd say no, or worse, that you'd say yes and then realize I wasn't worth the trouble. You were always worth it, I assured him. From the very beginning, I didn't know what I was asking for, he continued. When I asked you to measure, I thought I was just looking for a number. But what I was really asking was, is there room in your life for me? For all of me, even the parts I don't understand yet? And the answer was yes, I said. The answer will always be yes. He stopped walking, pulling me to the side of the parade route. People flowed around us, but in that moment, it felt like we were alone. Ethan, he said, his voice suddenly serious. I have something to ask you, okay? He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. My heart stopped. I know we said we'd wait. I know we talked about taking things slow, but I don't want to wait anymore. He opened the box to reveal two simple silver bands. I don't need more time to know that I want to spend my life with you. You saw me when I couldn't see myself. You believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. You loved me through all my fear and doubt and confusion. And I want to spend every day for the rest of my life loving you back. Tears streamed down my face. Around us, people had started to notice, forming a circle, watching with smiles and raised phones. Ethan Parker, Marcus said, his own eyes shining with tears. Will you marry me? Yes, I said, the word coming out as a sob. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. He slipped the ring onto my finger, and I pulled him into a kiss as the crowd around us erupted in cheers. Someone started chanting love wins, and others picked it up until the words echoed through the streets. When we broke apart, both of us were crying and laughing at the same time. Jamie pushed through the crowd to hug us both, screaming about how they knew it. They knew we were endgame. I can't believe you proposed at Pride, I said, wiping my eyes. Where else would I propose? Marcus grinned. This is where we belong. Out and proud and completely, ridiculously in love. It's perfect, I agreed. You're perfect. We're perfect, he corrected. Together, and as we rejoined the parade, hands clasped and rings glinting in the sunlight, I thought about that Thursday night 8 months ago when Marcus stood in my doorway and asked me to help him measure. I'd thought I was just measuring 8.5 inches, but what I was really measuring was the distance between loneliness and love, between hiding and being seen, between who we were and who we could become. That distance turned out to be no distance at all. It was just one question, one moment of courage, one decision to be honest about what we wanted, and it led us here, to Pride, to each other, to a future bright with possibility. Hey, Ethan, Marcus said as we walked. Yeah, thank you. For what? For measuring, he said with a mischievous grin. Turns out the size that really mattered was the size of what I was feeling. And you helped me measure that too. I groaned at the terrible joke, but I was smiling. You're ridiculous. You love it. I love you. I corrected. Same thing, he said, pulling me close. Same thing, and he was right. Because loving Marcus, in all his complexity, all his growth, all his beautiful, imperfect humanity, was the easiest, most natural thing I'd ever done. It was coming home. It was finding myself. It was measuring what really mattered and discovering that love, in the end, was infinite. The parade moved forward, and we moved with it, two men among thousands, all of us celebrating the simple, powerful truth that love is love is love, and that truth was more than enough.